How do you like that meditation?
I like it.
Yeah?
Because
Does it give you enough support in the back and
yeah, like I think I sit better.
with it?
Yeah, like I struggle with these. I try, but I know it takes time.
It's good to try different ones and see what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I find the foamy on that too soft for me for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's just if maybe it's some kind of elevation thing. You know, if I'm sitting like this and I feel a little uneven.
Yeah, but when you're...
It's like I'm on both my sit bones, but I feel like I can, there's more awareness to this side versus here there's...
Okay.
I don't know, so I feel imbalanced.
You can also get blocks
Supports,
to put under your legs.
I don't know if I'm struggling with having to like be tight to myself, or can I go like this?
You know what, the most
I mean?
important thing is to be comfortable.
Oh, okay.
And so you do have to kind of play around with it.
Oh, okay.
And it may shift and change too.
Right, yeah.
You know, I find that if I get into a really good flow of doing yoga regularly, which you're supposed to be doing, but sometimes my regular is like 15 minutes and not an hour and a half, right? But if I can't, this is like if I'm in retreat and I'm able to do an hour and a half to 2 hours every day, then the sitting is so much more comfortable. Right. But you know, when you work in an office or when you're on the computer a lot and then you try and sit, you do have to, well, and that's why we should always be doing yoga, but you know, and always remaining limber. But if that's not possible to that extent of fluidity, then you do have to test your
open. I have to be open, or else there's that tension, or I can't sit in this stance too long or posture too long.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting, right? You need to be in alignment. You need, like, you can't be, you know, you can't be slouchy and you can't be droopy. You have to be in alignment, but you also then within that have to relax. So, and that's the same thing with the mind, right? You really need to have the foundation and the structure and the support system, and then within that you have to relax, because the mind really just needs to, you know, we just actually have to let meditation arise. We have to let meditation happen. It's not anything that we can do. We can plant the seeds for the result to be a good meditation, but we can't make ourselves have a good meditation. You know, we can't like really focus hard or hold your breath. Like, you know, you can't force it in those ways at all. And some days you hit it and you go, wow, all right, like, how do I do that again, right? And then other days it's like all you can do to sit still for the 10 minutes or the 20 minutes. But actually that battle of even, okay, I know my mind isn't where I want it to be right now, but I am going to sit and I'm going to stay here. And you just make that determination, and I dedicate this effort to it being easier tomorrow. It may or may not be easier tomorrow depending on how quickly your karma ripens, but I guarantee you one of those tomorrows is gonna be way easier. And you know, by the time it is way easier, you might have forgotten that you dedicated it, but your karma doesn't forget. You know, it's the seed that's planted does not forget that it's there. So it's an interesting thing that we learn all these tools and techniques because they are useful and they are the seeds that we're planting. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to how kind we are to others. Like, it's just that simple and it's just that hard, you know? Like, sometimes I think, no, I'd rather like hold my breath for 30 seconds. Like, no, I don't want to be kind. You know? But again, it's once you start thinking of others and making that a habit, then it actually isn't hard, because it's the first thing you want to do, because you know that you feel better pretty instantly and it's going to come back as a better meditation session for you, right? So anyways, get comfortable. Do try, though, wherever you are, to have your spine as straight as you can in an unforced way, okay? And then, hands down where you don't have to worry about them. And I do find that it's helpful to sit on something that brings my back a little higher than my front. But yeah, hands where you don't have to worry about them, legs where you don't have to worry about them, shoulders level, chin level. They say the tongue goes up to the roof of your mouth, just gently behind the ridge behind your teeth. Face is soft. Eyes are closed. Sorry, I kept this light really bright so the eyes can be closed. They say if you're sleepy though, you should keep your eyes cracked open just a bit so that you don't doze off. And then just focus your awareness on your breath. Let all tension go. Get rid of the stresses of the day, of the week so far. Anything weighing on you, just let it go for now. Release it. And then with your breath, breathe in beautiful sky blue light and make sure that you're completely hollow, dissolving anything that is solid or seemingly fixed. Breathe out distress, dis-ease, discomfort. Breathe in beautiful clear sky blue light, making yourself hollow. Think about why we are sitting here. Why it is that we are really trying to learn how to meditate. Now think about someone you know. Put them in front of you. Open your heart to them so that you are seeing their pain as your very own pain. Think about how all pain, this one, anyone that you see, is a projection of your own polluted mind. And understand that the real way to stop this person's pain is to change your mind. So make a commitment to yourself to really listen, to think about the ideas from this class for them. Dedicate your efforts of trying to understand emptiness for them. And make this an act of truth in your mind, that by the power of my effort to understand this holiest way to reach enlightenment, I will free you of your pain. Dedicate that to them. You can open your eyes now. So last week we did that hollow tube meditation, right? Did you guys try that after class? It's kind of cool, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I'd suggest, you know what, even if you're not in a formal sit, say you're at your office, right? Mm-hmm. Just take a 5-minute break and sit there, just close your eyes and try it. Mm-hmm. It's really, I find it's just like that hollow meditation, the hollow body meditation we do sometimes at the beginning. I find that even just like going into that, it's a fantasy in a way, it's an imagination, it's a mental image, right? But just going into that, however it appears to you, I find it helps with decision making. I find that it helps with focus. I find that it helps reduce any sort of pent up anxiety over whatever I'm doing, and it doesn't take very long. So it's not a meditation. You know, as Master Kamala Shila says, half of what we're doing is not meditation, it's contemplation, but it's planting the seeds, right? The more we can be still off the cushion, the more you will be able to be easily still on the cushion. So that hollow tube meditation, partly it's just to plant seeds for future teachings, for higher teachings actually, because I got to tell you that I think I even said it last week, but that internal light body, and it's not even light body, we're working with our subtle body, we're working with the yogic body. That's all highest practice actually. So it's in preparation for that, it's planting seeds. And then partly it's just a really good method to detach. You know, this, we were talking about attachment before class. It's a really good method to detach the mind from this sense of being physically attached, because we're so attached to this. We're so attached to things that we mistake for being self-existently so, right? We think things are outside of us because they sure as heck look like it. So when you can, even in your mind's eye, see this hollow tube of light, feel yourself coming into it, withdrawing from the world, and you kind of have this awareness of it all, right? That goes far from removing our perception in a normal way, right? It really is taking it to a different level of contemplation. So if you get good at practicing it, and this one you do want to do on your cushion, because you could get a little distracted from the work stuff if you try this in the office, but you know, where you expand and come back, you go, you know, you kind of make yourself bigger, because when you withdraw yourself into the tube, you drop the mental picture you have of this external you, right? And you just become the tube of light, basically. And then we did the thing where we go bigger again. So we expand out, we kind of like feel ourselves again or see ourselves again, and you're bigger than this band of light. You can actually take that and become bigger than that. Like you can actually move your mind way out and then pull it right back in. Like you can do this sort of what I call mental gymnastics, right? It's like building up your stamina of where your mind can go. And when you do that, I don't know how it was for you, but when I cued you last week to go and fill out your external body and then come back in, did you get a sense that you were coming back into this body, or were you still able to see it kind of more like a movie, like your mental image, because your eyes were closed, so you weren't actually looking down. But the trick is not to then visualize yourself as you see yourself in the mirror. It really is to get a sense of whether it's the bigger you, the present you, or the internal you, or the expanded you, that all of it, including this one, is just a mental image. And we're training our mind, because actually it is. So but this one feels like it couldn't possibly be, because it feels so solid. And if I twisted this enough, it would hurt, because it would break, because I don't have the karma for this to not yet, right? And yet if I, in my mind, twist the wrist of my mental tube, nothing's going to snap ever. I can keep twisting, right? So in that way, one feels more real than the other, but it's not. That's the illusion. So we're trying with that meditation of going up and down the tube, in and out the tube, expanding, contracting, training our minds, planting the seeds so that it won't just be intellectual. Like as I'm saying it, you can at least suspend your disbelief and let your mind go there, right? Like you can think, well, I can't prove that she's right, but I can't prove that she's wrong either, so we'll just go for it, right? And that's okay. That's a good place to start. But eventually, if you practice this and you get really, really clear in your central channel, what I just said is going to be so crystal clear, without a doubt, true for you, that it is all, bless you, a mental image, and you will no longer be attached or attract. I think there's tissue if you need.
I'm good.
You okay? Okay. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a sense of see, you're trying to get that sense of withdrawal. You know, when you go really, really inside, it is kind of a withdrawal, right? It's almost a withdrawal of the senses. I don't know about you, but I've done this where I've gotten so focused that I stop hearing the traffic. I remember I did it once in a class in here, and apparently a motorcycle went by, and after we came out, whoever was teaching at the time, I'm trying to remember who it was, said, was anybody distracted by the motorcycle that went by? And I was really thinking, like seriously, not the, oh, I'm so good at meditating. No, it's not that. It was like, I seriously, and I'm hearing, as I'm talking to you, I'm hearing buses, I'm hearing cars. I can probably tell you how many cars went by, right? But there's a part of me that's still attached. But in that particular one, I was able to, my karma that day was such that I was able to withdraw so much that I did not hear a sound that 99% of the rest of the room heard. So, but, you know, it's that same type of withdrawal that we're trying to get to even when we're out here. Now, that doesn't mean you walk through the world like that. You have to be able to function, and only a Buddha can function in both simultaneously. But we practice with that. We practice getting used to, because you know how it feels like in one direction, right? So then, like, you know, when you're inside and it feels, it's more easy to feel withdrawn. But try to not hold on to that feeling, but see if you can get to that place even when you're observing the world, even when you're, you know, in your physical. Because what we're trying to do is unhook from this natural inclination to be attached to things being hardwired, fixed in their own way. It's so convincing that even though intellectually, after these classes, your mind goes, yeah, I I get it, you know? And then someone like cuts you off in traffic and you're yelling at them, right? So, because if you really knew that it was a mental image, then it came from your seeds, you wouldn't even think to yell at them. You would go, oh, there goes another one, you know? It's like, but, yeah. And because you know it's your seeds does not mean that you become this neutral zombie that doesn't give up flying, you know what? It's not that either. In fact, your awareness and your attention becomes so laser sharp that you become very single-pointedly compassionate, right? And but without any sense of the self being offended or the self being gratified, right? I'm off-roading. Sorry. It's but it's all connected. All of those layers of understanding. So the other thing too is, I don't know about you, but when I first started to meditate, I thought that the whole purpose was to close your eyes and just everything should go black. Everything should go blank. And it was trying to get to this numbed out state, like not even knowing whether that was right or not. It kind of felt like that's what meditation should be. But meditation is really this expansiveness of mind. And I don't know, were you here for the moon one where we did the ajna, where you picture, okay, this is a really nice one too for clarity. These are particularly useful if you have an office job or if you're anywhere where you have to like make administrative type decisions. It's not only useful for that, and it's certainly not taught as a business tool, but I tell you, being in that world, these meditations really, really help. It's where you, actually this is a good one for if you're dull or drowsy, or if you're just foggy. You know, sometimes you're just foggy, right? You really want to understand and it just isn't coming through, be it what your boss said or what your partner said or what your teacher said or even what you remembered yesterday and you can't remember anymore, right? And so what you do is, in contemplation, you actually go to your third eye, your Ajna chakra, which is pretty much it's between your eyebrows, and it's inside your head about 3 finger widths in. If you were to actually map it out, and that little bridge at the top of your palate, if you can feel it with your tongue, if you do a line straight up and straight back, you would bisect basically the pineal gland, not the pituitary, the pineal gland is pretty much right there, and that's the location of your Ajna chakra, your third eye. It's an energy center, a nadi, and so you can visualize. In fact, if you ever do Tibetan Heart Yoga Series 1, it's a gorgeous teacher training coming up next weekend, actually, not this weekend, but the following. Tibetan Heart Yoga Series 1, which is all about compassion. You start by visualizing your central channel and a brilliant pinpoint of diamond light right there. And they use the metaphor of a diamond. And then you open up the compassion rose at your heart, and you nestle the wisdom of diamond into the rose of compassion at the level of your heart, in your heart chakra, which is actually I'm pointing here, but it's actually on the back plane. That flyer up there with the diamond and the beautiful red rose is a lovely graphic depiction of what we're talking about. But that's really graphic, and what we're describing is actually not that gross in the sense of it's subtle. It's way, way subtle. The diamond pinpoint isn't a diamond, it's a diamond-like energy that is like light. And then the same thing with the rose. It's a compassionate energy, blossoming energy that is very rose-like, very flower-like. But it too is made out of this ephemeral substance, which I can only describe as like light, right? So we're talking really subtle body stuff, and but when you're doing these meditations, what I found is that the one that we did a few classes ago, at your ajna, you actually picture a moon. I love moons, but anyways, I picture a full moon, and you know that glow that a full moon has, and you breathe out. And you feel this sort of white light going out of you, or this white mist, and then you breathe that back in up to the moon, and that's how the meditation is prompted. I like to see this moonlight streaming out and streaming back in, and then you co-join that with the tides, because that's what the moon does, right? The moon controls the tides. So you see the moon, and for me what it is auditory. I see the moon, I imagine the moonlight streaming out of my nostrils, I hear the ocean, and as it comes back I pull the breath back. It's a very yummy meditation. But when I do that one, I swear the room gets brighter. I don't know if it would get brighter for someone else sitting in the same room as me, but for me, my whole field of awareness physically brightens up. And so we want to get a sense, and I give you personal stories, and you have to test that for yourself. And if that's not the reaction you get, don't think that it's good, bad, or otherwise. You will just have your own reaction to it. But I give you that because maybe you will have it, and you'll recognize that as it actually wasn't that someone turned the dimmer switch up. You know, you were brightening up your Ajna chakra. And with that, that for me is the easiest to get a sense of meditation not being just this black blank space. It's this spaciousness that is actually quite luminous. That's another way. It's not bright the way these are bright. Like, they're actually beaming right into my eyes right now, so they're very bright. Mm-hmm. And if I stare at them too long, I'll see spots, right? It's not like that. It's really more of a luminosity that that starts to come because you're in your subtle body energetically brightening up. You know, you are shedding light on your own misconceptions. You are illuminating your wisdom, right? So it's both figurative and literal, actually. It's pretty cool that way. Okay. Yeah, we talked an awful lot about the form realm in the last couple of classes, didn't we? And in many classes leading up to this, I kept saying to everyone here, we don't want to be on anything but the first level of the form realm. And the first level of the form realm is actually not here, which is why we have to get comfortable in being able to sit, and comfortable enough that you can forget about your body. And so that's not the same as your body feeling like it's gone to the spa. Okay, and it's not the same as your body having no, what do you call it when your feet start to fall asleep? Pins and needles, or a little twinge in your hip, or a little crick in your back. It's not about, actually, as you do get into practiced ease, the karma for that does shift, and you actually don't have those things. But on your path there, as you're practicing, it doesn't mean that you don't have those things. It means that you're not attached to them and you don't get distracted by them. So that, if you're not distracted by them, it's pretty close to it not being there, right? Because it's not pulling you out of whatever you're trying to focus on. So it is important to get to a place of practiced ease in your body so that you can forget about it. And for me, it took retreat to do that, to develop that. The everyday sitting did not do it for me, but the everyday sitting planted the seeds for me to be able to, in retreat, have pretty dramatic advances in my... I seriously went from being only able to sit from sitting only in a chair to sitting on the ground for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes before one leg would start falling asleep, 20 minutes before the other leg would start falling asleep, and then gradually I think I got it to maybe 20 minutes to half an hour maximum at home before I really couldn't pretend that I wasn't actually distracted anymore, right? But in retreat, I remember once thinking, oh my God, I've sat for an hour and 20 minutes and I'm okay, and I'm not there right now, but I have gotten there. I know what it feels like, and I do know that it was not because of anything I did just before that. It was the cumulative seeds. But also for me, though, that was then encouragement that this stuff works, right? So, like that, we have, we get into this practice ease, and then we can let our mind delve into these deeper meditations, go deep, right? This is what our whole byline is here, our soundbite is that, go deep, get happy. Actually, it could be said that you have to get happy to go deep, but and then the byproduct is that if you go deep, you get happy. So it's one of those upward spirals, right? But we do say that we have to be on this first level of the form realm, and then we got this whole dissertation about all the different realms and what it would kind of feel like if we were at those levels. And it's sort of like, well, why? Because we're told that we're not supposed to go beyond the first realm, but it really is important to know where your mind can go, right? They say that Master Kamalashila says that he tells us this actually as motivation, because the motivation is bliss, right? Who doesn't want to go after bliss? So, and the thing is, we're so not there that if we, what is it? Shoot for the moon and you'll hit the stars, or something like that. There's a saying like that.
I think it's shoot for the stars and you might hit the moon.
You might hit the moon, yeah. Because if you try to hit the moon, you won't hit it. But if you shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon. It's like that. Like if we shoot for the form realm, like set our goal beyond where we want to be, chances are we'll actually land at where we need to be. That's the logic. And so it's not about it's not a contradiction, is what it is. Like we're being told you don't need to go anywhere beyond the first form realm. So why teach us about anything beyond that? But then it's also a caution, so that it's the who you are here map, right? Like if there are certain meditators. I know many in this sangha who are bliss monkeys, who are actually really good at getting to that still point and just like blissing out, right? And that's great, because they have the ability to get into these realms, but they need to be able to recognize when they've gone too far so that they can, pull it in, right? Rein it in. Like don't waste all their good karma floating above their heads, right? And so, and then for the rest of us who might not ever be there, if we shoot for it, chances are we're going to be able to get to this realm, because we're aiming high, right? So that's the twofold motivation. One is to not underestimate where you can go, and the other is to know the warning signs so that you know where you are and can get to where you need to go. So then, Master Kamalashila has been doing some beautiful reviews with us, but he oh yeah. We haven't really handed out readings and stuff for this class. I think I handed out for people who came to the very first couple of classes. There were some classic sutras that we were reciting from or reading from, so we did email those out to everyone. So this isn't going to make a whole, you don't have the context for this, but actually you don't need it. This one line from a beautiful poem called The Journey to Lanka gives a really beautiful description of where we're trying to go with our mind, and I'll read it. It says, "Come to rest in the mind alone, and then stop imagining objects outside." It sounds poetic, it sounds lyrical, but it's pretty loaded. Come to rest in the mind alone. So alone could be only the mind, or be isolated and solitary enough that you can come to rest in the mind, right? There's kind of a double entendre there. And then stop imagining objects outside. So it could be stopped being distracted by the objects outside, or stop believing that the objects outside are beyond your imagination, because really you're just imagining that it's fixed external to you from its own side. Right? So, and I'm only giving you, there's more ways you can interpret both of those, but I'm giving you kind of like the obvious ones of, so when you read stuff like that, when you read it with a little bit of wisdom from what you learn here about emptiness and karma, it's really cool because they really unfold, right? It's like one of those little boxes that go poof, and then all of a sudden there's all these layers to it, and this whole realm or world that actually there's a lot of things now with special effects. Like there seems to be an awful lot of futuristic type shows or sci-fi or Transformers or whatever, where some little thing will like become this other, or a little chip, you know, they'll play it and then this hologram comes out, right? It's very Yoda, Star Wars, but you know, in the present day there's a lot more special effects in media that give us this opportunity to visualize what maybe our minds are already doing, right? So I find that really, really cool. So that poem, come to rest in the mind alone, and then stop imagining objects outside. That's all we have to do. That's all. That's the whole course, actually. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're deconstructing our world, right? We're deconstructing our hard, fast, fixed world that we think is out there. And, you know, I don't know, actually, Virginia, you wouldn't have been in the earlier classes, but we even deconstructed this table. Like, we did a meditation where we visualized a table like this in front of us, and went through the exercise of how, you know, when I say it, like if you close your eyes, can you see a table in front of you, just like what's in front of me? Yes, you can, right? And it's probably even easier for Paul because he's sitting in front of one. But, right, you can, yeah. But okay, but look down at your table, Paul. Like, you can't actually see the whole table. Not without going like this, right? And even then, like if I go here, I'm not seeing at all, you know? And same thing, like if I'm actually looking here, I'm really just seeing a shape. I'm seeing a shape that kind of looks like a rectangle with some colors. But for all I know, all it is a flat shape. And my mind is labeling it table, right? But we went through a whole exercise like where we zoomed in so far. Because even table, okay, so well, this corner of the table, how is it that my eye is seeing this yellow, this blonde color of the wood, right? And then we deconstructed that. We went through this classic exercise called, is it one or many? And I won't repeat it here, but you can watch the previous Ustreams on it. And if anyone is following Ustream, we had technical problems on class 8. So there is no, you had to have the karma to be here to catch class 8. And you did. But we went through the whole deconstruction of how we even see atoms. And you know, there was one point where science thought that atoms were the building block. But then they were able to split the atom, right? And now they can go even beyond that to quarks and waves and who knows what else they've gotten down to, but they can keep dicing and splicing it smaller. So this is what we're actually doing mentally too and emotionally. We are deconstructing. We're and isn't it interesting what little I know of physics? They say that, you know, they got way beyond the atom, and they got to this area of matter that seemed to shift and change depending on who or what was interacting with it. Like there seems to be this live component going on, right? This reactive, responsive. It's not static or fixed, even at that level. Like even at a measurable, hardcore, looks like it's outside of me level, right? I find that really cool. Okay, so we move on to other, and I'm just talking about that because there were some really cool meditations. So if you do listen back to some of the earlier Ustreams, you can follow them, and they're fun to do. They're just again mental gymnastics, tricks to make your ideas of what you thought were fixed, to shake them up a little bit, to make you think outside of the box, quite literally. So, and then Master Kamala Shila in his text says that the very definition is that objects around us that we see are no longer seen. They lose definition of being the object itself. And again, you don't actually have the reading, so I'm saying it kind of out of context. But this is where we're going to see, now I'm going to take my scarf off, and I'll probably put it on again before the class ends. But this is actually something that comes up a lot in Scripture, the seen and the unseen. What is there and what isn't there? And you'll hear phrases like that in any description of emptiness. Because actually the ye olde description of emptiness is that emptiness isn't a thing. Emptiness isn't something that is. Emptiness is what isn't. Emptiness is an absence. It's a negative, not a positive. And we really have a hard time wrapping our heads around things that aren't there. Because we think if it's not there, it's not there. Like it can't exist, and it can't be functioning in any way, and it can't be, like it can't be. To be, it has to exist in a positive sense. But really, the whole concept of emptiness is that emptiness is the absence of anything fixed coming from its own side. It's the absence of that. That's the emptiness. Emptiness is pure potential, right? So when you hear statements like this, the definition of objects that are no longer seen, you're no longer seeing that they are coming at you. You're no longer seeing that things exist outside of causes you put into place, right? That's what that means. And when you start actually looking at your world that way, it can get a little Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole. Actually, one of my teachers in Diamond Mountain, actually she's someone who's just come out of 3-year retreat. She was my Neilama. Her name is Susan Stumpf, Holy Susan Stumpf, and I wasn't with her, but I heard that she said this thing, and it was so profound because it was exactly this thing. She and my friend were walking in Diamond Mountain, which is very, have you been to Diamond Mountain, Paul? Mm-hmm. It's in Arizona, it's in the desert, it's very rocky. Like the pathways are very rocky and craggy, and apparently there's scorpions and rattlesnakes, although I never saw a scorpion or a rattlesnake when I was there. Saw a lot of other things, but anyways, and Susan says, like she's watching with fascination this pathway that she's walking, and she's almost walking, she's walking, but in a way it was almost like slow motion, because as she says to my friend, how is it that I am projecting the path and walking through it? Because that is what's happening. But she was trying to catch that moment when she was doing that, and even upon hearing that, I found myself trying to do that, and then it gets like, actually there's a car commercial, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a car commercial, I can't even tell you what car, where the road builds in front of it as like in the special effects or the graphics, the road gets drawn in, filled in visually, and then the car is speeding along, but there's no road, but it fills in just as it gets to it, right? Well, that actually, interestingly enough, is the way we're doing things. Like, I find that commercial really cool, even though I cannot tell you what car it is, but you're all nodding, so you've seen it. It's like that. And if you apply that to, like, how is it that this is so fizzy and yummy? Like, how is that? And when you try and catch that, you can find yourself getting, or if you look at a word too long, it doesn't make sense anymore. Have you ever had that happen to you? It's not what it appears to be, right? It's because if it were fixed, that word would always make sense to you. It could not shift. And the letters haven't changed. Nothing's changed, but our seeds have changed, right?
I've read articles sometimes where I read it twice and then realize I didn't understand it the first time, and then the more I read it, all of a sudden I'm totally confused.
And then it's like a different language is being, yeah. It's our minds. So they say, when we do that mental exercise, that meditation of trying to find the table, and you kind of get to your aha moment with that, well, it can't be what I think. It must be that I'm projecting this mental picture of the perfect table, right? You then try and apply that understanding to your own mind. Because even your very thoughts, even your own mind is like that. It's not fixed, in its own way. It's also a ripening of your seeds. It's a projection, right? So, yeah, we covered some pretty heavy-duty topics. What else? Okay, so back to the table. Yeah, this is where we got deeper. They say that a lot of our problems with our misunderstandings, with our unhappiness, with our discontent comes from our inclination, our habit of seeing the world in dualities. Right, wrong, yes, no, black, white, I like, I don't like. On one hand, we will always have dualities as long as we always have two side channels. We have two side channels, by the way. We have the central one that we're working with, that we're trying to get all our winds into. We have many more channels. We have something like 72,000 channels, but the three big ones that we're concerned with is the central channel and the two side channels that choke it off. And as long as our side channels have not dissolved completely, we will be forced to see the world in a dual way. That's what causes it. It's interesting, because we have two side channels, so we see the world in duality. Because we see the world in duality, we have two side channels. And so until they completely dissolve and the world no longer appears to us that way, we will always think in these ways. But with meditation, we try and train ourselves to take the goal as the path. We try to get to the what if, what would it feel like to not have any mental afflictions, to not have anything going on in the side channels? What would that feel like? And we can pretend, and they say that our wildest imaginings is nothing compared to the real thing, but that's kind of a fun thing to do. But we're also trying to get to the non-duality of the subject-object duality, right? Like, I am the subject, I see the object. And, even when we see emptiness directly for the first time, it's not that it's still a mental picture at a certain level. We still have the subject, our minds, observing the object, our minds, right? Like it's, so it's still there, but it's so non-conceptual. As they say, it's like water being poured into water. So you don't say you have water being itself. It's like water poured into water. So, but this is an interesting thing to try and wrap our heads around, because what we're trying to get to is this understanding of non-dual, of this lack of duality. And the concept that we're trying to, so it's, I think I've said it before as in the projection, the projecting, there is no projector. There is only the projecting. And everyone kind of nods, and that kind of makes sense. But the thing is, what we're also trying to say is that there is no experience of a table, and there is no experiencer of a table. There is just experiencing. Okay? Even with knowledge, the knowledge that there is no object outside of us from its own side, and actually that there is no subject state of mind outside from my own side, right? That's where we're trying to get to. Like, not only is there no, in fact, it's easier to say, okay, it's my mind piecing it all together. I can buy that. I can buy that my mind is throwing mental images out there that I am stitching together seamlessly, like the frames in a second of film that gives us movement. You can actually, in the old film days, you can dissect it right down to 35 frames per second or something like that of motion, 34, 35. And we can accept that with things external to ourselves, but it's really hard to accept that about our own minds. That our own minds are no different. Because we want to believe there is a projector. We want to believe that we are the projector of our projections. But even this so-called we, or I, or me, does not exist self-existently. Either. Couldn't, actually. Because anything that is self-existent cannot change. And if I'm thinking, I'm changing. If I'm moving around, I'm changing. I'm talking, therefore I'm changing, right? So the me that is doing the talking to you is not self-existent, can't be, even by those simple deductions, right? But man, it feels like I'm coming from my own side, you know? So this is where we're trying to test that theory, break down that theory through these types of contemplations of, let's take the table, because it's much easier to dissect it and do the analysis and do the observation. But when you get to that aha moment, you're then supposed to turn that lens onto yourself, onto your own mind. And actually, it is easier with your physical body. That tube of light is way easier to, like, am I that tube of light? Well, yeah, I'm that tube of light. When I bring my mind into it, I can dissolve my external. I can even dissolve it so much I can't feel my legs, you know. And but then still, there's something there that still feels like it's me, right? So we have to get fluid at those types of meditations too, because those ties are so strong. They're so convincing, you know. All of these arguments that I'm throwing at you too, these logical explanations, they all do correlate to certain levels of Buddhist schools too. And in Buddhism, there's a bit of a hierarchy. There's lower schools, higher schools. Doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's just that they have different levels of acceptance of emptiness, of what emptiness means. And at any given day, our minds can go up and down the spectrum. You know, sometimes when the winds are going in the right places, we can really understand, yep, it's all coming from me. I know that this experience I'm having now, I know I caused it. I may not know exactly what I did, but I do know I caused it. I can take responsibility, I can take accountability, and I can do something about it. You know, like, it's just, some things are crystal clear. Other things are like, I don't know where that came from. And, you know, it's, we kind of get selective about what we decide is going to be our karma or not. And we can't do that, actually. So, But back to knowledge, okay? Knowledge isn't self-existent either. I wish it was, because then, like you open a book, it would always make sense, like it was, in fact, anything I'm telling you, I'm not giving you knowledge. I'm planting seeds. Or in whatever it is that you hear from me, you're planting seeds for your own knowledge to blossom. Right? And if you hear something and you have an aha moment, it wasn't that word that was just said that caused your aha moment. It meant that you planted seeds before to be able to have an aha moment, and then what was just said was the delivery system that brought that to you, right? That you brought that to you through your delivery system. But even knowledge is not self-existent. Okay, the upside of that, the fact that knowledge is not self-existent, though, is really cool. Because if it were, it would never change. Like whatever the knowledge was would always be. It would only be that, and you would never actually even be able to think about it, because in the thinking about it, it would be changing, right? So it would be impossible to have knowledge that is self-existent. But the upside of it not being self-existent is that that then opens up the possibility of realizations. Because it's not like you are wisdom. It's not like you have wisdom. It's that you reveal these different layers of understanding, right? You get the winds flowing in the right channels, and meditation happens. It's actually the surrender of. We think we have control. We have no control, but we think we do, and we hold on tight, and it causes us all our pain. And as Master Shanti Deva says, just let go of the coal. Right? But it's so hard. It is so hard to do. Because we identify, we attach, And so what we're trying to do is that we are, in the planting of seeds, giving ourselves, it all boils down to we're just trying to be really good gardeners. That really is what we're trying to do. And it always makes me laugh when I hear Geshe-la saying that, or anybody, or me saying that, because my mother thinks I'm a horrible gardener. She thinks that I kill plants, and that I think when I was 4 or something. Well, no, I love wildflowers. I love weeds, like things at the side of the road, those little daisy things. Apparently they're weeds, but they're really pretty, right? And so I used to pick things like that, and and I think dandelions are really pretty, especially when they're all puffy and seedy, and most gardeners hate that because plants more dandelions in the lawn or something. But they're pretty, and you can eat dandelions, and you can, it's like I always think that, just like, Lama Marud is famous for saying, what's the difference between a pest and a pet? Is just a rearrangement of letters, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is, like, the difference between a weed and a flower, it's a label, it's a definition, right? But anyways, I think when I was little, I must have chosen the weed over the flower, so my mother decided that I kill plants and, can't garden. And it's not that she's wrong. I've never really had the chance to garden, so I can't. And I know I've killed many plants in my day. But I've also learned a lot about gardening through the karmic courses here, through everything that's taught here. And really, whether I can tend a green plant or not has nothing to do with whether I'm a gardener by samsara's terms. It's if I have the karma to nurture something, it will grow. If I don't have the karma because I've harmed in the past, no matter how much fertilizer, food, sun, love I give it now, it's not gonna live, right? So, but I always laugh because I've been hearing in my ears since I was a child that I can't garden, and I'm like proving that wrong. and teaching you all that you are all gardeners. And you know what, even if you don't think you're a gardener, you are a gardener. Because your karma camera is on 24/7, whether you want it on or not. There is no off switch, okay? There is no, what do you call it when you, yeah, but when you completely, there's no firewall. Like, you completely, you cannot shut down the system, right? No matter what you try and do to it. So, yeah, we have to get really clear on that. Okay, that's enough of me blathering on about the what this course was trying to get to us. That was a review, if you've caught any of the other ones, and that really was just a run through of the main ideas that Master Kamalashila has been trying to teach us throughout these 9 classes of Bok Jinpa 2. But we are going to finish with a really beautiful meditation, so let's get comfy. You need to stretch or get some water or anything. This is the last meditation, and then that's the end of class. But yeah,
Back's hurting.
Paul, can we just dim this light a little bit behind you? Yes. Thank you. It's just a little bright. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. It's my glasses. I think they were bouncing off or something. Yeah, give yourself a bit of a stretch. So get comfortable. Just watch your breath. Now picture the outline of your body, the outline of your physical form. And try and catch the mental image. You can go around to the different parts of your body and then understand that through your sense of touch or feeling of this body, that you can never feel more than one part at a time. Which the mind then pieces together, glues together to form a body. So our own body is no different than this table in front of me. My mind is creating. My mind is creating it. So hold on to the mental image that your mind creates of your body right now. And then see if you can just take that mental image away just for a moment. Just drop the mental projection of the body and check and see if there is another one besides the image out there. Then take another look at the mental image again and see it as coming from your mind. It seems like there is something that is making the image, something that's doing the projecting, something that is the projector. It feels like there is some solid, fixed thing. That is thinking of our mind or consciousness as self-existent. So now try to think about what Master Kamalashila has been telling us in these teachings. If there is no body out there, if there is no object, then there cannot be a subject state of mind. This very idea of something or somebody controlling the images, this projector, this subject state of mind, is simply another shifting mental image. A shifting, ripening seed that's opening moment to moment. Try and get that feeling in your mind of how the mental images are coming and going. There's no one controlling them. They are just ripening and going out of existence every second by second. It's simply the experiencing. Try and find the highest understanding you have of that, and hold your mind on it for a short time, and just try and fix yourself in one place. Now take that understanding that you've just found and see if that also is just a moment-to-moment ripening of a mental image. Does that understanding that you found exist at all in truth? when you're ready, you can come back. That's a good one to take to the cushion. So it's kind of cool. You start with just a physical outline of your body, of your form. You try and your eyes are closed, so that's obviously a mental image, right? And then you try to analyze you're trying to get to the lack of an existence of that the way you thought. So you go to that analysis of the table, just as something I say, it's just easier to do something tangible, external to yourself. And then you flip that to your body, which is actually, by the way, tangible, external to yourself too. And then you get to the mental image, which then shifts you from the body to your mind. And this is hard, like I don't know about you, but I can't drop, like if I drop my idea of the projection, there's nothing there. But I'm still there, like I can still feel me there, so my mind doesn't actually drop the image of the mental image altogether, right? Like there's a part of me that isn't actually letting it go because I'm still thinking, well, I'm still thinking, like I am now letting go of the image. There's still the I there, right? So if we truly could drop that image at that moment, and maybe you can, there will be a sense of groundlessness at that point, and it might be a little scary. But all it is your mind illuminating what's not there, right? But that part, personally, I find that hard. I'm all fine with visualize my body, visualize that it's a mental image. Yeah, okay, even the mental image is a projection. Let go of the what do you mean let go of the projection? All there is the projecting, right? It's like all there is the fact that I can't stop projecting. So if I'm not projecting the mental image of the body, then I'm not projecting the mental image of the body, right? So that's where my mind kind of gets stuck sometimes. And I give you that as I'm hoping you're not stuck there, but if it does, don't get discouraged, okay? Like, just keep going. And then you do get to that, okay, well, if my mind, see, and what I just said, where my mind stops, my mind thinks it's the projector, right? But it's not. So that's where you then do this analysis on the mind. And that's a really fertile place to be, like that one right there, at least for me, because it's so hardwired that I am doing the projecting, and you're not. So that's where you're getting to, and don't let yourself gloss over that. Oh yeah, no, there's no projector. I'm not doing the projecting. Of course you friggin' are. Like that's what you're, so you have to get beyond that, right? And then you do then keep going down that rabbit hole too. So there is no projector, there is no projection, there is just the projecting. There is no knowledge to be had. There is no one doing the knowing. There is no knowledge to be had. There is no knower. There is only knowing. And so it's and even that kind of is a useful literal tool. Like they call it a gerund when you put an ing behind something and you turn anything into this action, right? You turn it into, like if you, apparently that's where the word being came from. Ing was added to be and it became being. And then that's more, because we can say a human being is a noun, right? But being, like I am, I'm doing my thing is what being means, right? So, yeah, there is no there is no there is no there is only the ing, right? Like there is no knower, there is no knowledge, there is only the knowing. There is no projector, there is no projection, there is only the projecting. In a way, that's kind of a useful tool. You might try that on a few of the things that you feel are so fixed and hard and fast and wired. And that's just my little off-roading, but I find that sometimes if I stick to the literal recipe, my mind stops at that point and I can't get beyond the fact that I insist there is a projector until I then start to let go of that with this, well, let's look at some other things. Like, is there really this, that, and whatever? And then sometimes it's easy to circle back and see if your grip on that image is still as strong as it was. And often it shifts. Often it isn't. So, yeah. Actually, that's it. That's everything. But, really, that's heavy. The fact that there is no projector is really, really heavy. But that is wherein lies all of the secret to your happiness also, because there is no fixed you. There isn't. Thank God there is no fixed you. It means that all you are, all I am, is a moment-to-moment ripening of the seeds that we have planted before. And even that's not fixed. Okay? Like, yes, a seed will have a result, but you can water it or fertilize it or pull it out like a damn weed, like you can actually garden. So that's really, at the end of the day, it's interesting. Geshe has always said that, what he teaches is the Lam Rim. Like, really, in everything he teaches it. He can teach you the Lam Rim of bowling, he can teach you the Lam Rim of making coffee, he can teach you the Lam Rim of getting to enlightenment, right? And in that, what he's saying is, all I'm teaching you is karma and emptiness. All I am teaching you is understand that everything is in the nexus of causality, and that everything is possible because of this lack of any fixed nature to anything. The world is coming from you, not at you. It's as simple as that, right? But I would also go so far to say that, and this is directly from Geshe also, though, is that, you know what? We are as gardeners. That is all we are. And we just need to get really, really good at gardening, because we're doing it anyways. We do not have a choice whether we garden or not. So whether you have a bountiful crop that keeps on nourishing and nurturing, or whether you're plagued with, drought and famine and all of that, and prickly things, we have a choice about that, and it's not hardwired one way or the other. Like, that whole Garden of Eden thing is possible. We can create that, So, that's all. Any questions?
No.
Lots to cook. These are lovely though. So, I encourage you to even do them as contemplations, which is the office chair thing, or toilet stall thing, or wherever it is.
When you're sitting at your desk and you get interrupted. Like, I try to do other stuff, like other things, and it's hard.
It is hard, and that's why toilet stalls are sometimes better, where you won't be interrupted, right? Or go for a walk. You can do things while you're walking too. You can do a walking meditation. But and it's interesting because I am hearing more and more and more corporate people, more people in everyday life, really hungry for meditation, for learning how to do it properly. The sort of proven benefits are being touted even more. It's no longer just a new age panacea. It's no longer just a yogi hippy dippy thing, right? Like, it's actually considered smart, proactive wellness behavior, right? And people are seeing far-reaching benefits from it. So actually, one of the really great seeds to plant to improve your meditation is to help someone else learn how to meditate, or even how to look at the world in a slightly different way that will ultimately help them. And you don't have to give a big soapbox teaching to them about the table or anything like that. But just by, through your practice, you'll know what works. And you might even just say, just close your eyes and just imagine this light right here, like the moon. Imagine the moon. And just breathe out, breathe in, see if you can hear the tides. And you know what? You are teaching them a really, really powerful meditation tool, but it will sound really gentle and easy, and it will be gentle and easy, and they will get, to the level of their capacity. But that might just be the thing that helps lighten up a headache, or gives them clarity, which in turn is going to, you will notice your meditation's improving, or you will notice you will be interrupted less when you don't want to be. It's things like that are natural byproducts of. Although I gotta tell you, the karma of not being interrupted is not disturbing the peace of others. So there's things that you kind of start to get really curious about karmic correlations in these things, because while we're gardening, that's what we wanted. We're gardening anyways. We're planting karma left, right, and center anyways. So if we want to be better gardeners, then we want to be sure about what seeds we're planting, what seeds we don't want to plant. And if we mistakenly planted, like not mistakenly as in unintentionally, like if we through our own ignorance or oversight or lack of attention planted a seed that we didn't want, then we can do something about it also. So we get really good at karmic correlations also. That's a different class, but we do get to those realizations on our cushion also. Yeah.
So is there a meditation class next week with someone new?
There's going to be, the next few weeks is Earl Burney,
right?
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's from, it is from the 20, and he is a graduate of all of the Diamond Mountain courses, so the 18 open courses and the 18 secret courses, and he also completed the Great Retreat, 3 years, 3 months, 3 days, silent solitary. He went deep.
I can't imagine that.
Really deep. So
that's pretty awesome.
yeah, so if you get a chance to come,
Yeah.
because he'll be chatting a bit about his experiences. But he was already a very powerful meditation teacher before he went into retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure even if he leads one or two things, that you will feel it. You will, yeah.
That's cool.
You'll benefit from it. So yeah, that's for the next few weeks, and then Joel will be teaching. But also on July 12th,
yeah, here, right?
in the afternoon here, and then in the evening at Unity of Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
That's a ticketed one, but it's well worth coming. Tickets are available in advance for $15 or through Eventbrite.
Is that for both, or?
No, well, the one here is by donation.
Right.
And actually, the suggested donation for here is $20,
Right.
but the evening one is $15 in advance, 20 at the door. But Lama Marut is amazing, and he's going to give different talks in different places. So it's not like if you come to one that you're going to get what's going to be after.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a chance, and he'll be doing a book signing at Banyan the night before,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll be doing a talk at Whistler the morning before. But all of them are going to be different, and he comes so rarely now that if you can fill up on Lama Marut, you'll be juiced up karmically, dharmically for a while. So yeah, that's coming up.
I haven't read the book yet about it.
In fact, it's actually good to not read the book before he comes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually
Okay,
more. Yeah, it's
I was going to start, but my
yeah.
friend lent me this other book to read. So,
Mm.
so don't read it yet.
Well, read it if you have time or if you want, or if you're drawn to it. But actually, it's way more powerful, since he's coming to teach about it anyways,
Right.
to hear the teaching and then read the book. Because as you're reading the book, you will hear him. Because he's pretty engaging and pretty distinct, pretty singularly unique. So, you'll be able to hear he'll be with you when you're reading the book, which he'll be with you anyways if you don't know him, but once you've been in his company and once you've heard that voice, that style of speech, like that layer of his emanation basically will come through the book too. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah.
And then I'm going to be starting to teach Magic of Empty Teachers the first or second Tuesday in July. It must be the second, because July 1st is a holiday.
Yeah.
So not teaching July 1st.
Right.
So a week after that.
Okay.
And that's an incredible course. So yeah, that's Tuesday nights though. So,
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Yeah.
We are going to start Bok Jinpa 3 in the fall. So
Okay.
this course continues on and dives even deeper, if you can believe it. So that'll be later in September.